So you got your GlowForge. This is going to be perfect. You already know how to use Photoshop. You'll just draw an image, upload it to the GlowForge, and it's going to work perfectly, right? Wrong. Photoshop is not compatible with GlowForge's programming. So I found a surprisingly small amount of information on this also. It will engrave, but it will not cut from Photoshop files. And you cannot just export. For some reason, that will not work either. So I eventually found a video that sort of walked through it, but it was very obscure. It was extremely fast. It took me like 5 times watching it to actually get the process. So I figured I'd make this video on how to cut and engrave the same file on a GlowForge. So I hope this helps. You will also need Photoshop and Illustrator for this to work. Okay, so you've got your Photoshop image. Obviously it's gonna have a lot of layers. We cannot put this directly into GlowForge because the programming is just not compatible. So what I like to do is put all my cut and engrave layers. I like to flatten them into 1 layer per stroke style. So engrave 1 layer, cut 1 layer. So what I'm gonna do is take all my engrave like layers that I have on the right side here, and I'm gonna make them invisible. So you can click these little eyeballs on the left and it will, it'll hide it basically. So I'm going to do that for all of my engraved layers, and you can see as you click the eyeballs, they start to disappear. So I'm doing that for all of those. I'm just looking for the ellipse now. Once those are invisible, you're going to click on one of these visible layers. You can see I've only got my cut lines left, and then you're going to go up to layers at the top, and close to the bottom, you'll click flatten visible, or merge visible, I mean. And now you can see that's all 1 layer. So if I make it invisible, it is all of it. So I'm going to invisible that, and I'm going to put all the other layers back to visible. As you can see, my engraved layers are all visible. I'm going to click on one of those layers, and I'm going to go to layers, drop down at the top, and merge visible again. And now you can see we just got 2 layers, all the cut lines and all the engraved lines. So I'm going to zoom in here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the magic wand tool, and just a little FYI, you do have to have the contiguous box in the top center unchecked, and you do need to select the layer that you are trying to select on the right side. So then I'm going to click anywhere on one of these green letters, and it's going to select everything. The next thing you have to do is go to Image, Adjustments, and Desaturate. For some reason, you cannot image trace in Illustrator without or with colors. It has to be like desaturated. So I'm going to desaturate, hit Control C, and then that's going to copy it, and I'm going to go over to my Illustrator, and I'm going to label this layer here as engrave, because these are all my engraved lines for the GlowForge. And then I'm going to hit Control V, and you can see it's in here now, it's gray, etc. I'm going to hit Image Trace, which these options are all under the object drop down up top, but there's usually a quick tab in the top center or on the right side. So I'm going to image trace, and then I'm going to expand, and then I'm going to ungroup. All those options are in the object drop down or in the quick tools section. So once I ungroup, I'm going to get my cursor selected, which is, and here's all the drop downs so you can see where they're at. Expand, and then ungroup is up here. Image trace is a little lower, I think. Once I've got that all done, I'm going to select the cursor on the left toolbar, the filled in cursor over here. Maybe the not filled in one. Anyway, select out of it. Select any of the white space around your engraved lines or your cut lines, and you're going to go to select at the top, the drop down menu, and then you're going to scroll down to same, and then click appearance. So that's going to select all the white, and then you're just going to hit delete. And once we do the second layer, you'll see that that makes it transparent and that it wasn't before. You can see all these little lines are, separated now. They're not grouped. So then I'm going to select the entire image, and I'm going to go up to these boxes at the top left, and I want no fill, which is the left side, and I do my engraved lines with the blue. So I'm going to fill it in with the blue. I think I did that backwards. So we're going to do no outline and fill it with blue. There we go. So if it's engraving, I do a fill, no outline. It'll be the opposite whenever you do your cut lines. So then I'm going to group them back together. Again, these quick tools are on the right, or the object drop down. And now this is all 1 layer, 1 group. You can see it's just 1 item. The next thing we're going to do is go back to our Photoshop, select the layer of the cut lines or the opposite of whatever you just did, and your magic wand with contiguous unselected. And then you're going to click anywhere on those lines. And for me, desaturate does not work with this layer. I don't know why. So what I have to do is fill them all in with black. It could just be I'm not doing it right, but when I desaturate them, the Adobe Illustrator process will not work. So I fill them in with black for my cut lines. Um, you might find other ways around this, but once I've got them all filled in, I'm going to hit Control C, and I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to go over to my Illustrator, and I'm going to hit New Layer in our Layers tab here, and I want to label that layer as Cut, because these are my cut lines. And then once I've got that selected, I'm going to hit Control V, and I'm going to paste that. And see, now you can tell that this is not transparent. It's going to cover up the whole other image that you have in the background. So we're going to hit Image Trace, Expand, and Ungroup again. And now we're going to select out of that selection, click on any of the white spaces, hit the select drop down, same and appearance, and then we're going to hit delete. And now when I make this other tab visible, you will be able to see that it is now transparent. So you do have to do that for it to work. Once I've done that, I select the image, all of those items, and I'm going to go up to fill, and I'm going to do no fill, and I like to do red outline for my cut lines. I did have to upload a different image because my lines were stuck together. So when you do this, you'll see that some of your cut lines are actually two cut lines because of the way Photoshop's programming is. So you just got to go through, delete whichever extra line you don't want, otherwise your GlowForge will cut it twice. So now that I've done that, I am going to select this whole image one more time, and I'm going to hit Group. Now it's one image, and you can see they're both visible, and then usually it'll center itself, but I like to check. Then you're going to go to File, Export, Export As, and for me, it always comes up as an SVG. So I'm just going to resave this because I've already saved it. I like to put Final at the end. That's my GlowForge files, and once you do that, you'll be able to upload it. This, you do have to uncheck responsive, and you do need to select Embed on the image, and then hit OK, and now it's going to stay that size when you upload it, and everything will be good to go. So try it out, and oh, here we go. We're going to the GlowForge app. So you go to the GlowForge app, and you'll hit upload or create, and then as soon as it pops up here, I should have just cut this part out. You'll go to create, that blue button, and once you click that, you'll hit upload from file, and then when you get into it, you'll select that same file that you just saved, which mine is in a different folder. I should have thought ahead on this one. But once you select it, it will come up with cut and engrave lines. You just have to set your settings. The settings are a whole nother ball game, so I won't even get into that on this video, but settings are very important. I would do a lot of research before you try to set them because you could start a fire in your GlowForge. But see, cut lines and engrave lines. So I hope that helps. And